Hey, you want to know something? Sure. What? The Penguins just lost to the New Jersey Devils 3-2 in a shootout. Are you kidding me? It took them a shootout to get this game over with? Yeah, it did. Let's go, Pens and Devils on Penguins postgame. It starts right now.
You're locked in to Penguins Hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Sidney Crosby and the Penguins play here on the Sports for Beginners podcast. Hey, shoot, he scores! The bingo game is ready to roll. Welcome to Penguins postgame. PPG for PGH. And you'd have to be here to believe it. Here is your host, Scott McGregor.
Good evening, Penguins fans. Good evening, Devils fans. The Devils shut out the Pittsburgh Penguins before Christmas on the eve of days before Christmas in 2024, 3-0 down in New Jersey. Did they pick up a 2-0 lead against the Penguins? Well, I got the right answer for you, but buckle up because it's going to get interesting. Welcome to Penguins postgame, Penguins and the Devils. I got the answer for you. We'll tell you whether the Penguins got even against the Devils in just a moment, but I got the answer for you, and we're going to get to it in a matter of moments. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, with our, and I said with our, head coaches and our matchup between the pipes. Who was between the pipes tonight for the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New Jersey Devils? Well, first of all, as we know, head coach, former head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are in action right now in a crazy one down in Calgary, might I add. It's a crazy game down in Calgary, might I add, as we record this right now tonight at 10:04 p.m. Eastern Time. That's what we're recording right now at. Of course, this might have started a little earlier than expected, but that's okay. We actually started it at 10:01 p.m., so it's now been about a few minutes since we've started recording. But my golly, how about this to kick it off? Sheldon Keefe taking on Mike Sullivan in the Penguins' final game before the Four Nations tournament break here at PPG Paints Arena. I'm Scott McGregor coming into you live on Sports for Beginners on Penguins Postgame from the Penguins Postgame broadcast studio in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. The game went down at PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And as a result of that, we are with our head coaches, through with our venue on the game. We know the game started at 7 p.m. Eastern, and of course, other times as well that I would mention, but we'd be here all day. So, with that said, moving on to our matchup in goal. In goal tonight, the Penguins would go to Alex Nedeljkovic once again. Rookie goaltender Joel Blomqvist backing him up. And meanwhile, on the other side of the ice, Sheldon Keefe went with Nico Dawes and Jake Allen as backup. Jake Allen backing up Nico Dawes. Nico Dawes gets the start, and he had an interesting night. He had a very interesting night. in this one, despite this game. Yes, I said despite this game, needing 7 rounds in a shootout to decide a winner. That's right, 65 minutes didn't do it, and nor did 60 minutes. It almost did it for. It almost did the trick in. It almost did the trick in the third period for the New Jersey Devils. They could have won this game 3-1. Instead, they win 3-2. And we'll break it all down for you, starting with our period by period summary coming up in just a moment. Before we get to that, though, I understand that there's been some interesting talk happening on broadcast maps. So why don't we take a word from our good friend Ali Musa at Broadcast Map? And I understand that he had some excellent content on tap for us. So we're going to talk about that ahead of our period by period game summary with the first 2 periods and overtime and third period broken up into one whole segment. Coming up next, we break down the first 2 periods of play, shots on goal as well, but we'll save those as they are by period. We'll save those for down the road when we get to the game stats, which will also follow after the shootout, which I guess will include in the overtime period summary because, well, no goals were scored in overtime. And to add to that, no penalties were taken in overtime. So all we got to do is in overtime is talk about the shots on goal by period. So we'll do that after we go over the shootout and how it went down. But when we return after this from Broadcast Map, a quick Broadcast Map update, and then how did the Devils wind up winning 3-2 in Pittsburgh in a shootout? And what was the cause of this interesting night in Pittsburgh for the Devils? Breaking down the Penguins' 3-2 loss to the Devils in period by period coming up when Penguins postgame continues after this quick update for Broadcast Map and after this word from Broadcast Map. Stick with us.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
The Penguins fall 3-2, I should say. 3-2. They fall 3-2 to the New Jersey Devils. We're about to break down the game in just a moment, but before we do, as promised, it's time for a quick Broadcast Map update. It's time for a quick Broadcast Map update. And quite a couple of programs on Broadcast Map. As of late, we have just recently today, we had 2 shows featuring the voice of the Toronto Blue Jays public address announcer, Tim Langton, talk some voiceovers. That's right, I said voiceovers. As well as, yes, as well as book and Toronto Blue Jays. If you missed the live stream at 3 p.m., it's now available on the Broadcast Map YouTube channel and, of course, available at Broadcast Map's podcast feed wherever you listen to podcasts. Later on tonight, and while the game was going on, while the hockey game was going on for the Penguins and the Devils, broadcast map brought us the action with Mark Perry. Mark Perry. If I pronounced that wrong, Mark, I apologize. But Mark was in the studio for some interesting talk. As the broadcast map reminder said at 7:30 p.m. When Ali posted this 30 at 7 minutes and 37 at 37 minutes, I should say, after 7 p.m. Good evening. This is a friendly reminder that Mark Pear joins me tonight. He is the voice of the Guelph Storm. And what are they talking about? What are they talking about? What were they talking about today? Well, with Tim Langton, voice of the Toronto Blue Jays, on the public address announcer at Rogers Center, we talked about the Blue Jays. We talked about what it is like to be an announcer. There were also going to be some surprises during the chat as well, including some books. Oops, spoiler alert. I probably shouldn't have said that. I spoiled that because I was actually watching the video version of it. But I have yet to check out the whole thing in its fullest. And with that said, Mark shares the day with Tim to talk all things sports. Both these conversations will be on YouTube streamed live and podcasted. Stay tuned for more excellent content. So Mark is talking about his day with a guy named Tim. I don't know exactly who that is for Tim. They also talk all things sports as well. And all of the conversation. Oh, sorry, Mark actually knows Tim. So Tim Langton, I think that is. So we're going to talk about what a day with Tim Langton is like and to talk all things sports. Both of the conversations can be heard on the Broadcast Map podcast as well as streamed live on YouTube. Earlier in the week, actually, this was on Sunday that it was posted, so it's been updated since then. All right, with that being said, that's the quick broadcast map update for you. We got a hockey game to get to and a lot to talk about. And I mean a lot to talk about. First of all, let's get started the way that we normally do. And I got to take you to the first site of our first and second period penalties. We'll get to the scoring in a matter of moments. Overtime in the third period coming up in the next segment, as well as the shootout coming up in that next segment as well, which will be followed by a word from our friends over at Sienna T Radio. But before we get to Sienna T Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time, let's break this game down. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's break this one down. Here we go. Here we go. In the first period, Devils' Brett Pesce receives a 2-minute minor for high sticking at 13 minutes and 18 seconds. Curtis Lazar will receive a penalty 16 minutes and 55 seconds later. So about 3 minutes and 55 seconds later, he goes for interference. It was believed that Ricard Raquel had scored a goal on the power play for the Pittsburgh Penguins during that timeline, but it was overturned, and it wasn't overturned. It was reviewed, and deemed no goal, so it was waved off. But Rickard Rakell did score for the Penguins in this one tonight, and we'll get to that in a second. He just he almost had the first goal of the game, especially on the power play. It didn't happen, but that's okay. Didn't happen, but that's okay because Raquel, Ricard Raquel would get a goal later in the game. The goal that did count, however, went to Jack Hughes, but it was supposed to be Jesper Bratt's goal. They did not change it though, so it would remain Jack Hughes' goal. And it is his first goal of the night, number 22 on the season. Jesper Bratt picking up his 44th assist of the season. Andre Palat picking up assist number 10 on the season. And that goal coming just about less than a minute to go in the period, almost at the 20-minute mark of the period, almost at the end of 20 minutes of play. 19 minutes and 43 seconds was the time of the goal, and the Devils are out in front 1-0. They take 2 penalties. They also score a goal, 1-0 Devils, 1-0 Devils. Second period rolls around, Devils score again. Once again, it's Jack Hughes. This time, he comes in early at 9 minutes and 14 seconds. With his second goal of the game, we'll be looking for his hat trick. He's on hat trick watch, but it was not to be in this hockey game. We'll get to why in a moment. Anyways, Jack Hughes picking up his 23rd goal of the season, second goal of the night. Jesper Bratt picking up his second assist of the night, 45 of the season, 45th of the season. Second assist of the night, number 45 on the season for him, Jesper Bratt. Devils go up 2-0, 2-0, I should say. During which time, the Penguins would eventually score, but before we got to that, he had a couple of penalties before we got to the goal and after the goal as well. We start with, on the Penguins side, their first penalty of the game, going to Pierre-Olivier Joseph. It was a 4-minute double minor for a high sticking at 3 minutes and 57 seconds. Cody Glass picking up a 2-minute minor for hooking at 8 minutes and 56 seconds. Also at that time, Eric Holula. If I pronounced that wrong, Eric, I apologize. He receives a penalty at 8 minutes and 56 seconds for elbowing. 4-on-4 hockey we go. Speaking of 4-on-4 hockey, later in the period, Ryan Graves called for a trip, 2 minutes for tripping, 15 minutes and 42 seconds in. Literally a few seconds later, at 16 minutes and 46 seconds, Andre Palat picking up a 2-minute minor for high sticking against Chris Letang at 16 minutes and 46 seconds. So the Penguins and the Devils go on 4-on-4 hockey twice tonight. with only 3 opportunities each on the power play. We'll get to the third period in just a moment in penalty. Nothing really to talk about scoring and penalty-wise in overtime, so we'll get to the shootout as well as our third period coming up in a moment. But before we get to that, and before we close out this segment, because we are coming up on our time to hear from our good friends over at TNT Radio, making your day brighter one song at a time. Ricard Raquel, I mentioned he had a goal disallowed in this game because of a kicking motion. It's been determined, I believe. I'll have to watch the highlights to see what exactly happened. But with that said, Ricard Raquel would get his 24th goal of the season, despite not having a goal when we thought he had one, and it was not. And it was not to be. It was not to be. That is his 24th goal of the season, which gets the Penguins on the board 14 minutes and 56 seconds in to the second period. Captain Sidney Crosby picking up his 44th, 41 assist of the season, 41st assist of the season. Speaking of first, Erik Karlsson picking up his 31st assist of the season. Penguins on the board. So after 20 minutes of play, it was the Devils 1, the Penguins 0. The Devils with 1 goal and the Penguins with 0. After 40 minutes, it's the Penguins on the board, but they trail 2-1. On the board, but they trail 2-1. And after the first periods of play, shots on goal, they do favor the Pittsburgh Penguins. I know I said we were going to get to this when we get to the game stats, but why not? Why not? After the first 20 minutes, the Penguins favored in the shots on goal 9-6. They were favored in the shots on goal by just 3 shots on goal. 9-6, the total in the first period. The Devils favored in the second period at 9-8 in the shot totals in the second period of play. But for the game, after the second period of play, the Penguins were out shooting the New Jersey Devils 17-15. So not quite out shooting, but they ended up with quite a couple of interesting goals here. I should say interesting shots on goal. In the third period, I'll just get this over with because I have a feeling I probably won't get to it when I do the scoring, but I might reiterate it if I decide to go for it. But in the third period, the regulation period, the Penguins outshot the Devils 8-4. 8-4 in the shot totals was the Penguins' shot total against the Devils at regulation. So the final shot total ends up being 27-21, I should say. But how did they get there? We'll get to overtime. Third period penalties and the third period scoring that forced overtime. And then the shootout, because both Nick Dawes, I should say. If I pronounced that wrong, Nick, I apologize. And, of course, Alex Nedeljkovic and Nick Dawes picking up great performances in overtime to force the shootout. All of that coming up next on Penguins Postgame, right after this, from our good friend over at Vienna T Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time. Always great content on Vienna T Radio. Why not check out the website at http://vienat.wordpress.com/vienat-radio. And of course, I'm not really sure what our transcript here is doing, but you know what? That's okay. We'll take a word from Vienna T Radio. And with that said, I'll be back after that word to continue with our breakdown of the game. The game summary, period by period, continues on Penguins postgame with the game stats and 3 stars coming up in just a matter of moments. So be sure to stick with us.
What a busy traffic on this Friday evening. I am almost stuck in this traffic for the last 40 minutes. And there is no way, I think, for me to get to the show. The Sienna T Radio Song Bank, which is going to start very shortly. It's one of my favorite shows. And my, what a way to wind down for the weekend. Perfect 2 hours of fun-filled music. And she has so many great features. Sound of Music, Undercover, Foreign Exchange. Name That Tune. And the big wheel that she spins for Who's That or Where Are We? We cannot forget about the international stage. I have never come across such a great show in my life. I think I will have to press hard on my accelerator and go as fast as I can to get home in time. Wow! Look! I made it! I am almost there! Sienna T. Reid, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for conversations on books and more, as well as tutorials on using your favorite devices and applications? You've come to the right place. Join us weekly on Spicy Techie, where Ali and Sienna provide insightful conversations, as well as useful tips and tricks to help you along on your technological journey. To learn more, tune into the show and like the Spicy Techie Facebook page. Search for Spicy Techie.
It's always great to hear from our good friends over at Vienna T Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time. I really enjoy checking out the shows when I can. They got some great programming. Like, for example, they got the Song Bank every alternate Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern, which is a really nice program. They got the Cosmopolitan They got the Cosmopolitan Culture Club. I stumbled over my words there. That's every alternate Thursday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. A really nice program. You know, I long for some 2 hours of fun-filled music and great features on the song bank, but I also enjoy a couple of nice hours listening to stuff like, I don't know, the Melting Pot, maybe the Classical Cafe. Oh, and did I mention the Hourglass? That's a really nice one I've enjoyed checking out when I've had a chance to check it out. All of those shows I just mentioned, the Classical Cafe, the Melting Pot, and of course the Hourglass, are part of a Sienna T radio triple play on Saturday beginning at 11:30 a.m. in the morning Eastern Time. And they wrap up with the Classical Cafe to kick off the afternoon at 2:30 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. Eastern. And of course, the Hourglass from 3:30 p.m. to 4:30 p.m., wrapping things up. And of course, with that said, we also like to mention that the Cosmopolitan Culture Club is every alternate Friday from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern. The 2-hour show is the Song Bank, which is from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Fridays. And even though I do love the WWE, I think when I have an opportunity to check out the Song Bank, I'm going to take that opportunity. All right, with that said, back to the topic of conversation. But shout out to Sienna and shout out to all our listeners across the globe on Sports for Beginners, and even our listeners tuning in now to the podcast version of Weekly in Sports. Looking forward to having our end of the month February program with a Super Bowl recap and more great headlines, I should say, especially around the PWHL, all on that end of the month February program coming up later this month. But before we get into any more things coming up on the program, let's just pause and go back to our topic of conversation tonight, because we still have a period to break down, a shootout to break down, and of course, as I said, overtime, no penalties. Well, that's no surprise. And no goal scoring. Well, I guess sometimes you can't win the hockey game in overtime if you can't score. But what led to overtime and then the shootout? Here we go. Here we go with the third period scoring and penalties. In the penalty summary, Christopher Letang and Paul Cotter, who didn't exactly get a goal in this one, but found himself in the penalty box. He receives a 2-minute minor for flashing, and so does Chris Letang. Chris Letang and Paul Cotter both received 2-minute minors for, that's again, Chris Letang on Pittsburgh and Paul Cotter on the New Jersey side. Both of them receiving 2-minute minors for slashing one another at the 6 minutes and 37 seconds mark. A minute and 53 seconds later, even though it's 5-on-4, which, by the way, is also, 4-on-4, I should say. Even though it's 4-on-4, once again, By the way, that's how Jack Hughes scored his second goal of the hockey game. Well, Kevin Hayes said, anything Jack can do, I can do better. Well, okay, maybe he didn't say I can do it better, but he knew the Penguins were down by 1 in this period. So what does he do? He goes out there and gives a goal to the Penguins to tie this one up at 2 goals apiece. 4 goals scored in this game. We're looking for goal number 5. Will we get it in overtime? The answer is no, because Nico Dawes and Alex Nedeljkovic would not let that happen. They would not let that happen. Kevin Hayes scores his 9th goal of the season and 9th as a Penguin. Pierre-Olivier Joseph picking up his 3rd assist of the season for Pittsburgh. And speaking of assists, Anthony Buvarelli picking up assist number 5 on the season. Time of the goal, 7 minutes and 53 seconds. 7 minutes and 53 seconds. And now we go to overtime. Before we get to overtime, Penguins outshooting the Devils 8-4 after regulation. At this point in time, it was 19-21, I believe. Nope, sorry, to 25. 19-25. That would check out. That would check it out. Because only 2 shots were taken by both teams. So 25-19. I think that checks out better. Anyways, overtime, nobody scored, but the 2 shots on goal that both Alex Nedeljkovic and Nico Dawes saw, they stopped both of them. They stopped both of them. So for both Pittsburgh and New Jersey, after overtime, we're knotted up at shots on goal apiece, and the Penguins outshooting the Devils for the game 27-21. 27-21. They outshoot the Devils 27-21. However, got the shootout winner. Well, hang tight. Here we go. It's time to find out how the shootout was decided. 7 rounds of shootout. Here we go. It started with skating. It started with skating for the Penguins. It started with Rickard Rakell. And shout out to Sweden. As I'm aware, Rickard Rakell is headed to the Four Nations tournament in place of William Karlsson, I believe. I gotta try to check that out just to be sure as to why that is happening. I'll check that out after we get out of here on the program here. But there's still a lot to come on Penguins postgame as we roll on. Anyways, moving on. From Rickard Rakell to Paul Cotter. Both Paul Cotter and Rickard Rakell score. So we are tied at a goal apiece after round 1. In baseball terms, I should say, after one inning of play, or one round of play in the shootout, I should say, it's 1-1. Second shooter up for Pittsburgh is the captain, Sidney Crosby. By the way, got hurt but was able to return into the game. He gets stopped by Nico Dawes. Next shooter up, this one for New Jersey, it's Jack Hughes. It's Jack Hughes. Jack has 2 goals already in this game. If he scores here, yeah, it doesn't mean he gets a hat trick. It doesn't mean he gets a hat trick, but it could mean the end of the game for the Penguins. So no hat trick, but you could win the game. He is stopped by Nedeljkovic. Bring up Brian Rust, next shooter for the Penguins. He gets stopped by Nico Dawes. That brings up Jesper Bratt. And he is stopped by Alex Nedeljkovic. Next shooter is Anthony Buvarelli for Pittsburgh. He gets the puck past Nico Dawes, and the Penguins take a 2-1 lead in the shootout. So we are now one round of the shootout, a second round of the shootout, and round 3 of the shootout, I should say. In round 4 of the shootout, Anthony Buvarelli is the one for first. They take a 2-1 lead. It's the Penguins leading 2-1. Not so fast. Dougie Hamilton evens things up, getting the puck past Alex Nedeljkovic. And we are tied again after 4 rounds. In the 5th round of the shootout, it's Kevin Hayes. He shoots, and he is stopped by none other. He shoots, and he is stopped by none other than Nico Dawes. So Nico Dawes stops Kevin Hayes this time. Thomas Tatar, next one up for the Devils. He gets stopped by Nedeljkovic. Then we get to Luke Hughes. Luke Hughes doesn't have a goal yet in this game, but he could very well win the game. We stay tied at 2-2. On to round 6. We go. In round 6, it's Luke Hughes. The next to shoot, he gets stopped by Nedeljkovic. Still looking for the game winner. However, if Nico stops Cody Glass, Timo Meier can score the Devils to victory. Cody is stopped by Nico. And then it's up to Timo Meier to win the game. He takes the puck. And he takes the puck. I didn't want to say the F word there, so sorry about that. He takes the puck. And he gets it by Alex Nedeljkovic for the win, and the Devils come out on top 3-2 over the Pittsburgh Penguins and take a commanding 2-0 lead in the season series after winning 3-2 in the shootout, ultimately making up our final score 3-2 Devils over the Penguins. So this time the Penguins made the Devils work for their shutout that they did to Pittsburgh in New Jersey just before Christmas on the 21st of December in 2024. And this time, we ended not in shutout fashion. We ended in a 3-2 shootout win for the Devils. So it makes me wonder, what does the afternoon game on March 15th have in store for us? We'll get to all of that, I'm sure, down the road. But with that said, our shots on goal, as I mentioned when we did the period by period game summary, well, they remain to be seen as 27-21 in favor of the Penguins. For the game, however, our shots are not our shots on goal. We already got that. Our face-off. Well, how did the face-offs go? Well, the Penguins and the Devils each took 54 face-offs. The 54 face-offs, I should say. The Devils won 20 out of 54 face-offs for a face-off percentage of 37%. Good in the face-off got tonight. The Penguins won 34 of 55, 54, I should say, 34 of 55 face-offs. 34 out of 55 face-offs were won by the Penguins. So let me just reiterate that. The Penguins won 34 of 54 face-offs tonight, winning 60% of their face-offs. 60% of their face-offs were won by the Penguins. Not too shabby for the Penguins. A little questionable for the New Jersey Devils. But you know what? In the end, a game is a game. And because both power plays did not, and I repeat, did not execute even once on the power play, both power plays for the Penguins and the Devils wrap up at 0 for 3, with the penalty kills for both teams, the Penguins and the Devils, being perfect at 3 for 3. So the power plays 0 for 3, and the penalty kills perfect 3 for 3. 3 for 3. Making sure I have that right. There we go. All the same, both teams spend 10 minutes in the penalty box each. The Penguins were out hit by the Devils 21-19 in the hits category. They blocked 21 of the Devils' shots. The Devils blocked 10 of the Penguins' shots on goal. The Devils gave the puck away to Pittsburgh 16 times. Want to make sure I say the puck, not the other word. They gave the puck away to Pittsburgh 16 times and 19 giveaways for the Penguins. So the Penguins finished the game with 19 giveaways. They took the puck away. I should say they ended the game with 7 takeaways. New Jersey, 5 takeaways. 5 takeaways for the Devils, 7 takeaways for the Penguins, 16 giveaways for the Devils, 19 giveaways for the Penguins. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are coming up on Jake of the Game time. We are coming up on, yes, we are coming up on, and I mean this, we are coming up on the game puck of the game and the next 5 games for the Pittsburgh Penguins and the New Jersey Devils, including the games leading up to the Four Nations Tournament, which begins on February 12th, 2025. Penguins and the Devils and every NHL team will be out of action until we return from action. For the Penguins, they'll return to action on Saturday, February 22nd, 2025. But of course, with that said, a lot of action will be off until then. And with that all being said, quickly here before we wrap this segment, let's get to our 3 stars of the game. You know the drill, as I've mentioned on many previous Penguin post-game shows. Our 3 stars of the game on the Penguins Radio Network are brought to you by your neighborhood Ford stores. Ford cars, trucks, and SUVs are the official vehicles of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Ford and the Pen. How's that for a powerhouse squad? With that said, we are not sponsored by Ford, the official car, truck, and SUV of the Pittsburgh Penguins. But we bring you the 3 stars regardless. And if you would like to get in on the action, you can email us at Sports for Beginners Podcast 8231 at gmail.com. That's 8231 at gmail.com with Sports for Beginners Podcast there as well. And you can also, we are on Discord, so you can also send us your 3 stars of the game, puck of the game, play of the game, and shake of the game recipients via the Discord server on Penguin post-game show interaction. All right, I got to wrap this segment before we get to all of that fun. And with that all said, let's get to it. Your 3rd star tonight is number 67, Rickard Rakell. It's Rickard Rakell picking up a goal tonight, 1 point, no assist. Your 2nd star is Jesper Bratt. Jesper Bratt. If I pronounced that wrong, I apologize. I'm just gonna go with JB. And if that sounds wrong, again, apologies to the Bratt family. And I mean no disrespect. So we're gonna go with JB. He is your 2nd star of the evening. 2 assists, 2 points. 2 assists, 2 points on the night. No goals. And your 1st star with 2 points as the 2 goals he scored and no assist. Give it up for Jack Hughes. Jack Hughes, Jesper Bratt, and Ricard Raquel. JB, Jack Hughes, and Ricard Raquel, your 3 stars of the game, with Jack Hughes as your first star, JB as your second star, and Ricard Raquel as your third star of the game. Have a difference in opinion? Let us know as we take this commercial break. Coming up after the break, it's time for the play of the game, the shake of the game, and of course, yes, I said of course, it's time for the game puck of the game. A look around the NHL in our final segment before we take a look at what's next for the Devils and what's next for the Penguins to close out the show. We're back to Penguins postgame in just a matter of moments. Be sure to stick with us because the shake of the game, the play of the game, and the game puck of the game come your way next on Penguins postgame. And still to come, it's time to find out, how do the Penguins and the Devils wrap up their season before the Four Nations tournament break? And who do they start with following the Four Nations tournament break? How do they fare as we get to the Four Nations tournament break? You're going to find out all of that in a segment coming up soon. For now, we'll take a word from on the ice and behind the benches, and another word from our good friends over at Sienna T Radio, and perhaps a word from our station. More Penguins postgame still to come. Stick with us.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Sienna T Radio will never give you up. They will never let you down. Nor will they run around or desert you. So join Nick Astley for The Melting Pot every Saturday on Sienna T Radio. Hang on a minute. He's not Nick Astley. Oh, jings, I've done it wrong. Anyway, just join Nick for The Melting Pot on Sienna T Radio.
Looking for a sports podcast that covers sports weekly as well as gets you set up for the day? Check out Weekly in Sports with me, Scott McGregor. We give some shout-outs of the week to podcasts like this one and those who do them. Discuss the Blue Jays, Bills, Raptors, and more. To learn more, check out the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners.
Devils beat the Penguins 3-2 in Pittsburgh on Tuesday night. We're now recording this last little bit here on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. The game happened on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. And of course, with all of that being said, there was a lot of action in a 14-game slate that we're going to get to in a matter of moments. But before we get to all of that, that will be coming up in our last segment of the program. We want to get down to the nitty-gritty I talked about before we closed out the last segment, our 3 stars of the game, the game stats, out, and of course, overtime and the third period that we went over before we took our last commercial break early on. Over the course of the program, we've talked about Jack Hughes scoring. Over the course of the program, we've talked about Jack Hughes scoring. We've talked about Jack Hughes scoring his 2 goals of the game. We talked about Jesper Bratt picking up his 2 assists in the hockey game. We've also talked about Ricard Raquel picking up a goal in this one. And I understand that Sidney Crosby was hurt in this game, but managed to return to the ice. Now, it is unclear what his status is, but I don't believe we will see him play ahead of the Four Nations tournament in the last 2 games coming up on Friday and Saturday night for the Pittsburgh Penguins. I don't believe we will see him play in either of those games, but we will see what his condition is right now. We will see what the condition for Sid is. He did get hurt, but managed to return to the hockey game. So we will see what the situation with Crosby is as he heads on in to possibly captain Team Canada at the Four Nations tournament. However, if his injury has him miss the Four Nations tournament, he might not be back for a while. But we'll see where the tide falls there. All right. Time now for the play of the game, which is brought to you by on the Penguins Radio Network, Rivers Casino. That's Rivers Casino, Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. We are not sponsored by Rivers Casino, the official Pittsburgh entertainment destination and proud sponsor of the Penguins Radio Network. For this type of segment, the play of the game. But if you listen to the post-game show, Penguins Live post-game on the Penguins Radio Network, that is brought to you by the official entertainment destination of the Pittsburgh Penguins and known to be Pittsburgh's entertainment destination. Rivers Casino. Once again, as I mentioned early on, gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 18 or older to gamble, and please play responsibly. With that being said, my play of the game comes back to the third period. Really like that goal by Kevin Hayes. Really put the Devils on their high horse. Okay, not on their high horse. Maybe let's just say on notice that Pittsburgh was not going to let the Devils win this game in regulation, nor were they going to let them win in overtime. It sucks that they lost in a shootout, but right side, we get a point. forcing overtime. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get the extra 2 points going into overtime and then into the shootout. Timo Meier credited with the shootout winner. Timo Meier is credited with the shootout winner. And that doesn't do much for his season total, maybe for his career, but he does get the shootout winner credit for the goal. I just thought this setup by Kevin Hayes, it's a pretty interesting goal here, but I thought, and I know Evgeny Malkin is out injured, but I thought that if Evgeny Malkin was there and playing, he probably would have had a better setup to get Kevin Hayes the goal. All the same, we hope that Evgeny Malkin can come back and play for the Penguins over the course of the season after recovering from injury. And for anybody in the Penguins who is recovering from injury, we hope that you guys are getting better and hope nothing for the best. We hope nothing but the best for you guys coming in. All right, we have hit it 1 hour into the program. So with that play of the game out of the way, time now for our game puck of the game and our shake of the game. As always, we start with the shake of the game. That is inspired by Jake Gensel and the Milkshake Factory ad that is now run by Brian Rust. Anytime Brian Rust scores for the Penguin fans receive half off Rusty Shake the next day at the Milkshake Factory, providing you the official milkshake of the Pittsburgh Penguins. Not sponsored by the Milkshake Factory, but that's okay. Moving along, our honorable mentions in the shake of the game will probably end up with game puck of the game. And we're going to start with the New Jersey Devils. First off, we're going to go ahead and give a game puck. Sorry about that. We're going to go ahead and give a game puck of the game to Nico Dawes. We're going to give a game puck of the game to Nico Dawes. 2 goals given up in this one, both at even strength. Was excellent in making some great saves. 25 saves to count. 25 saves to count on the 27 shots he faced. Ends the game with 64 minutes and 15 seconds played on the ice, minus the shootout. And of course, he ends the night with a save percentage of .926. So that makes me wonder. On the Penguin side, is it the same for Alex Nedeljkovic? Yeah, I think so. Anywho, moving on with more from the Devils. I would also like to give a game puck of the game to goal scorer Jack Hughes. So the Devils are going to get a game puck of the game given out to Jack Hughes. Actually, I should say a shake of the game out to Jack Hughes. And our shake of the game is also going to go out to Nico Dawes. Excellent goaltending by him tonight, despite giving up 2 goals of the game. One to Kevin Hayes and one to Ricard Raquel. All right. Speaking of whom, an honorable mention, we go to Curtis Lazard. And of course, Curtis Lazard. And of course, we want to give a shout out to Dougie Hamilton. He had quite an interesting game. So Curtis Lazard and Dougie Hamilton are going to get a honorable mention. One of those two will get a game puck of the game. But first, on the Penguin side for the shake of the game, I'm going to go ahead and give a shake of the game out to Alex Nedeljkovic. Now, Nedeljkovic faced 21 shots, but Nedeljkovic faced 21 shots, and made 19 saves. So Nedeljkovic faces 21 shots, makes 19 saves, gives up 2 goals, both at even strength. He played the entire 60 minutes, 65 minutes, I should say. Ends the game with a save percentage of .905. Not exactly what Nico Dawes had, but that's okay. Alex Nedeljkovic, save percentage of 905. And of course that's 905. Just to make sure I have that right. Next up, for the shake of the game, we're going to go to goal scorer Kevin Hayes. Kevin Hayes getting some nice work done there. He's going to get a shake of the game. Honorable mention to Captain Sidney Crosby. And of course, I liked how Vincent Desharnais played in this game. Would have been nice to see him score a goal, but not to be in this one. But I do like what I saw from Vincent Desharnais in this game. Also, Boko Amama, if I have that right. Again, apologies if I pronounced that wrong. Apologies if I pronounced that wrong. BJI is what we're going to say. I thought he had a nice game as well. All right, so just to recap here, the shake of the game for the New Jersey Devils belongs to goaltender Nico Dawes, as well as goal scorer Jack Hughes. On the Penguin side, it belongs to Kevin Hayes and goaltender Alex Nedeljkovic. Both goaltenders I thought played really, really well. And with that said, on to the game puck of the game. And our look around the NHL is on its way. But we'll take one final timeout before we get to that. And from there, we'll go straight into what's coming up ahead of the Foreign Nations tournament. And, of course, afterwards. All that still to come in just a couple of minutes. My game puck of the game is going to go to Dougie Hamilton for the New Jersey Devils. And how about we give it off? How about we give it off to our honorable mention? He may not have done much in this game, but I'm going to give it off to our buddy Vincent Desharnais. Vincent Desharnais is going to get a game puck of the game for Pittsburgh. I really like what I saw from Vincent, but no goals yet. I have a feeling they're coming. All right, wrapping up Penguins postgame on the other side. So be sure you stick with us because coming up after the Foreign Nations tournament and before the Foreign Nations tournament, in our next 5 for the Devils and the Penguins, is coming up next. Also coming up next, what other action went down on Tuesday night? All that in just a matter of moments. Stick with us.
Hello? How are you, my friend? Why? What's the matter? Why feeling bored and lonely? Look at me. I am always happy. The only reason I can tell you it's because I listen to CNT Radio. All the best shows you can think of. The Melting Pot, the Cosmopolitan Culture Club, and the Song Bank. There are also many more new shows to come. Please make sure to visit her website at http://sienna-wordpress.com/sienna-radio. Oh, now I can hear you more cheerful. CNT Radio, making your day brighter, one song at a time.
Looking for a good hockey podcast that covers your favorite hockey teams and mine? Check out On the Ice and Behind the Benches, where we chat about our favorite hockey teams from puck drop to the last play of the action. To learn more, follow the On the Ice and Behind the Benches Facebook page. Search On the Ice and Behind the Benches.
Looking for conversations on the world of broadcasting, sports media, and from time to time, my favorite sports teams? Listen to Broadcast Map with me, Ali Musa. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Broadcast Map Facebook page. Search Broadcast Map.
Welcome back to Penguins postgame. Penguins and the Devils. Devils beat the Penguins 3-2 in a shootout. A couple other games were on the slate here, getting up to our next 5 games for the Devils and our next 5 games for the Penguins coming up in just a matter of moments as we proceed to wrap this one up. We are now about an hour and 11 minutes into the program here as we continue on. What else went down on Tuesday? Well, in the early slate, minus the Penguins game, which ended in a shootout, the Boston Bruins pick up a shutout. They defeat the Minnesota Wild 3-0. The Buffalo Sabres pick up a 3-2 victory over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Down in Tampa Bay, the Lightning defeat the Senators 4-3. They'll run it back again tomorrow on Thursday, February 6th, 2025. We also see the Capitals picking up a 6-3 victory over the Florida Panthers. Of course, our game ended 3-2 in favor of the Devils over the Penguins in a shootout. One other game that ended in a shootout is the Kraken taking on the Red Wings. That one was in the late window, and it was the Red Wings coming out on top in the shootout, 5-4. The Hurricanes fell to the Jets 3-0. Another 3-0 final of 3 3-0 finals in this one. In overtime, we saw the Edmonton Oilers defeat the St. Louis Blues 3-2. The Vegas Golden Knights fought hard, but the Islanders come away with the W, winning 2-1 over the Golden Knights. We also saw the Canucks pick up a 3-0 shutout win over the Colorado Avalanche. The Hockey Club picks up a 3 victory in overtime. Among 3-2 victories in overtime, the Hockey Club taking a 3-2 victory over the Flyers, and the Oilers taking a 3-2 victory over the St. Louis Blues. Is the only finals that we would see at 3-2 in overtime. Our final score ends up in a shootout at 3-2. 4-3 the final in the Shark Tank between the Sharks and the Canadiens. The Stars fell short to the Ducks 2-1. And down in Calgary, let me just go over the scores again that I went over. 0 finals for the Canucks over the Avalanche, the Bruins over the Wild, Jets over the Hurricanes, 3-2 overtime finals for Oilers over the Blues, and the Hockey Club over the Flyers. A 4-3 final for the Sharks, who fall to the Canadiens 4-3. 2-1 the final score, Ducks over the Stars. 5-4 the final in a shootout for the Kraken, fall to the Red Wings 5-4. We see the Toronto Maple Leafs pick up a 6-3 victory in a crazy game down at the Saddle Dome. We also see the Islanders pick up a 2-1 victory, not in overtime, but in regulation. And the Ducks and Stars game did not go to overtime as well. 6-3 final. Capitals beat the Panthers 6-3. That's in regulation. And of course, 4-3 final. Lightning over the Senators. And a 4-3 final. No other 4-3 final. Never mind. All right. So there you have it. Your scores from Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. What's going down on Wednesday? There's only 3 games on. And we'll get there quickly here before we get to the next 5. The New York Rangers, who battled on Tuesday night, they battled. No, they did not battle. They were not in action on Tuesday night. The New York Rangers battle the Boston Bruins tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern in New York as Boston continues a back-to-back. The Oilers, who are also in action on Tuesday, are in action again tonight at 9:30 p.m. in the Windy City. They are in the Windy City to take on the Chicago Blackhawks. And later on tonight, the Canadiens, who were in action as well on Tuesday night, they take on the Los Angeles Kings at 10:30 p.m. Eastern. All those games at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. Eastern, and 7 p.m. Eastern. Oilers taking on the Blackhawks, the Kings taking on the Canadiens. Were also in action. The Kings were also in action. Were they? No, they were not in action. They were not in action on Tuesday. The Kings were not in action on Tuesday. So the Kings, Blackhawks, and Rangers take on teams that were in action on Tuesday night in the Canadiens, the Oilers, and the Bruins. Be interesting to see what happens there. But as we come up to the end of the show here, time now for the next 5 for the Penguins and the next 5 for the New Jersey Devils. Let's talk about the Devils first and foremost. They have a commanding 2-0 lead on 2-0 lead on the Penguins in their 4-game season series. They battled the Vegas Golden Knights on Thursday night at 6 p.m. Eastern. I should say 7 p.m. Eastern. From the Golden Knights, they will go to play Montreal on Saturday afternoon, excuse me. It's a 1 p.m. Eastern time start, 12 p.m. Central, 10 a.m. Pacific game. That's on Saturday, February the 8th. 2 games, both for these teams, before we hit the Four Nations. After the Four Nations tournament, the Devils are back at home. They'll take on the Dallas Stars on Saturday, February 22nd, 2025 at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Pacific. And of course, on Sunday, the 23rd, at 6 p.m., they will take on the Nashville Predators at the same time. That is on Sunday, Dallas on Saturday, and Colorado picking up things for the Devils to wrap it up at 9:30 p.m. Eastern on February 25th. I should say 26th, excuse me, not 25th. I meant to say 26th. That's a Wednesday, 26th. And that is their next game. On the Penguins side, they'll play Philadelphia 3 times this month in a home and home series with the Philadelphia Flyers to wrap up the month of February. Before they can get there, they go head to head with the New York Rangers before the Four Nations tournament at 7 p.m. Eastern on Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern. Our coverage comes your way after the game. And don't forget to check out the Battle of Pennsylvania. The night before the Super Bowl, I'll provide you with a interesting final take on the Super Bowl on that Penguin post-game show called Battle of Pennsylvania. Game times at 7 p.m. Eastern. From Philadelphia and New York to the Four Nations tournament. After the Four Nations tournament, the Penguins are home for a game home stand in back-to-back formation as they will play at 3 p.m. Eastern against the Washington Capitals, followed by 30 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, the 23rd of February at 3:30 p.m. Eastern against the New York Rangers. And then their home and home series brings back nighttime hockey beginning at Wells Fargo Center at 7 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday night, February 25th, 2025. So for the Penguins, it's the Rangers, Flyers, off to the Capitals, back to the Rangers, back to the Flyers, and then pretty much the Flyers again. For the Devils, it is Golden Knights tomorrow, Stars Saturday, I should say Canadiens Friday, as they are on a back-to-back as well, same as the Penguins. It's a home game and a road game. It's not actually a back-to-back, but it very well could be. Yeah. Oh, no, it is not. The Friday is right afterwards. Anyways, it goes down to this: Golden Knights on Thursday, which is tomorrow. Canadiens on Saturday. Dallas the following Saturday after the Four Nations tournament wraps up. Nashville and Colorado. All right. Well, that'll do it, my friends, for this episode of Penguins postgame. Catch me tomorrow, I should say Friday, after the game for another episode of Penguins postgame. Penguins and the Rangers. Game times on Sportsnet. Coverage of the game will be coming your way right after the hockey game. So be sure you stick with us. Who knows? Maybe it will be live. You never know. With that being said, Penguins fall on Tuesday night. 3-2 to the New Jersey Devils. Next time the Devils will take on the Penguins is in March. So they won't see the Devils again until after the Four Nations tournament on March 15th at 8 p.m. Eastern. This was also their Black History Month game on Tuesday night for the Penguins. They'll wrap it all up in Newark, New Jersey at 7 p.m. in April, on the 11th of April in 2025. With that said, I am Scott McGregor. This has been a presentation of Penguins postgame. I'd like to thank you all for joining us and look forward to seeing you all again real soon. As always, let's go Pens, and we'll see you next time right here on Penguins postgame.
Ladies and gentlemen, Elvis has just left the building. You've just listened to Pittsburgh Penguins hockey on the Sports for Beginners podcast. To learn more about the show and to view the upcoming schedule, like the Sports for Beginners Facebook page. Search Sports for Beginners or visit the official Sports for Beginners podcast website. Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay tuned. And remember that it is not goodbye, it is until next time. And you'd have to be here to believe it.